Welcome to the empowering world of Ladies Who Leap podcast, where brave souls share their remarkable journeys of venturing beyond their comfort zones to craft lives filled with passion and purpose. Tune in to hear the awe-inspiring tales of individuals who dared to defy their fears and embrace the unknown, paving the way for a future they truly adore. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. Hi, welcome to Ladies Who Leap podcast. Today I have Zoraida Morales. Zoraida was a high-achieving investment banking manager when a routine physical changed everything. She was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia after 13 years of chemotherapy. She's now 45 months in remission and loving her true purpose. As a certified transformational nutrition cancer coach and creator of the 3 Pillars of Nutrition program, Zoraida helps cancer survivors and caregivers reclaim their health mentally, physically, and spiritually. Through holistic tools, she empowers them to manage anxiety, nourish their bodies, and thrive beyond cancer. She shares her expertise about speaking engagements, fundraisers, workshops, writing, and podcasts, including her feature in Perspectives on Cancer, Volume 2, came out in February of 2024, so check that out. Zoraida is an entrepreneur, a speaker, a coach, an author, and a proud mother of 2. She finds joy in astrology, yoga, and salsa dancing, embracing the practices she encourages others to explore. Welcome, Zoraida. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, my friend. So good to be here.
So, for the listeners to understand, Zoraida has been on quite the life journey, and we can all benefit from hearing about this. So, let's start with your childhood, which I do like to start with. What experiences in that period of your life shaped your beliefs that you have or had as an adult?
Oh my God. It shaped everything for me. You know, I was born into generational poverty. I was born into generational trauma. And so you don't know what you don't know, and you're in fight or flight mode. And let me just say that I was born in the South Bronx of New York City in 1963. So we all know the stories. The stories are true, right? So I'm surrounded by people who are have a limiting beliefs, who have scarcity mindset, who are in fight or flight. And I was in mind and ego. It's how we survived. It's how my mother went to college for 10 years at night while working during the day to get us out of poverty. And that was how it all started.
What did it feel like? I mean, only those of us can only imagine through movies, and if you are listening and you lived through something like that, but most of us learned about the South Bronx in New York City through movies and things. You actually experienced it as a child. And
Mhm.
when you say trauma, it's
Mhm.
what happened around you. Am I correct?
Yeah. And let me just say that a lot of my trauma is past lives, but we're not going to talk about past lives. But it repeated itself in this life. And so there was hunger. So as a child, I was an original latchkey kid. I had a key around my neck, and I was only 6 or 7 years old, and I'm the oldest. And so it was my responsibility to lead myself. Now I'm a child. So I had to lead myself and then lead my siblings. But due to the circumstances that I was in, I had to manage my mother's stress. And as a child, I felt responsible for making her happy because the person who is my biological father chose not to be an active part of our lives. Yeah. So,
So, and when you talk about one of the beliefs, I know you said scarcity mindset, that was financial. And that actually
mhm.
influenced the decision you made as to what you were going to do in your life. So, can you talk about that and money? How did money and scarcity mindset really lead you into your first full corporate, your first career.
Yeah. When you grow up surrounded by people who are in desperation, who cannot think with their heart or feel with their heart, as a child, you see the angst in people and their bodies. You can't explain it, but you see it and you feel it. So I remember being, now growing up at that age, um, you would lie down on your bed and look at the ceiling, listen to music, and just daydream, which is one of the things that I do now. I've gone back to that. But I remember speaking with my siblings all the time, saying, we are not going to be poor when we get older. We're going to go to college and we're going to make a lot of money, because all we thought was that money would change everything for us, because it was the one thing we lacked. But we actually lacked so much more than money, because, and money has this energy, that. And so I went to college, and well, I didn't go to the college I wanted to go to because my family didn't have that money. And my mother said, oh no, we're not doing student loans, because she already has student loans. And so I went to Baruch College in New York City, and I felt this freedom there, so much so that I flunked the first year, and they threw me out. And so what did I do? I go into my first investment banking job, and they paid for my college. And so I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to go to the community college, LaGuardia Community College in Astoria, Queens, and I'm going to get the associate's degree, and then I'll go back to Baruch. And that's exactly what I did. So I worked 10, 12-hour days, right? And it changed everything for me, because now it didn't change my mindset. I didn't know that at the time, right? But now I was able to afford to purchase my own clothes, to eat 3 square meals a day, because I didn't always have that. So as a child, if I didn't go to school, there were times I didn't eat. So I had perfect attendance until middle school, because I knew, we all knew, no one said anything, but I mean, actually she did. There were little things like, well, you need to go to school today, right? I know you're not feeling well, but you need to go to school. That meant that there's, there's a scarcity, right? So we're all going to share a potato. And a lot of times my mother didn't eat so that she could feed 4 children.
Wow.
Yeah. And at that time, as we got older, that I got into college, my mother was working in corporate. She was working for the Equitable Life Assurance Society of America. And we were still poor, because now we're the working poor.
And that is something that is brought up a lot. So you actually experienced that as a child,
Yes.
and it influenced you to get into banking, to understand money and to make money.
And here's the funny thing. My 2 siblings are in finance as well.
Mhm.
All 3 of us. There's 4 of us actually, but 3 of us are in finance. It was a conscious decision. And actually, I worked with my sister at one point, because there's only, I've always worked for the top 5 finance companies. So, and so does she. So we've actually worked in the same company for a few times. Um, and my siblings are still in finance. So when I told them I was going to become a coach, they looked at me like, is she crazy? Like, why? Because again, they haven't done the work that I've done on my emotional being, on my inner soul. So
Yeah,
this
and we're
makes
gonna
sense
we're
to
gonna
me.
get to all that, because that transition from the corporate banking to being the coach that you are today, that was a tough leap, as we call it on this Ladies Who Leap. But once you got your degree and you had been working for a while, and I'm trying to understand like how long you worked in that corporate world, you ended up getting married,
Mhm.
having a couple kids. That part of your life and kind of understanding, when did what is it that really transformed you and made a change in your life? Was it the diagnosis? Give me an idea of the timeline and how that all worked.
Actually, when I think about it, it wasn't the cancer diagnosis was part of it, but it wasn't the it wasn't the last it wasn't the last lesson that really shifted everything for me. Because so here I am, I'm in corporate finance. I am living the life that I thought that I wanted to live. Um, and it wasn't perfect because I had 5 miscarriages before I finally had my son. Um, well, I was 40, right? So I spent many years trying to have a baby, but for the most part, was living the life I wanted to live. I was working 10, 12-hour days, yes. But I had a husband, I had a house built for me. I lived in the suburbs of New Jersey. We went on vacation every 3, 4 months. My children were in school and camped, 12 months out of the year. There was always, I had a cleaning lady. It's a long story, but I decided I'm going to go to have my annual physical. And I have a blood test. And I'm speaking to my doctor, and we're in his office, and we're just chatting about our children because that's what you do when you have a primary physician for 20 years. You just talk about your children, and then you go home. But I went home and I got a call 3 hours later, and he said, "Are you okay? Are you feeling okay?" And I was like, "Well, I'm tired. I work 12-hour days. I have a 3-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, I have a lot going on." He says, "I don't like the way your white blood counts look. Do you mind coming in tomorrow?" So I did. And he says, so I go in and he says, "Okay, your white blood counts are tripling. There's an infection in your body." I'm not thinking anything of it. He isn't either. He says, "Come back tomorrow." I come back the following day. This is Wednesday now. Now the numbers are through the roof. He's like, "Okay, this is not good. I need you to see a hematologist." I went, "What?" He says, "Sarita, something doesn't look good. I need you to see an hematologist or an oncologist, and I need you to get a diagnosis, and I need you to then come back." And here's the thing. Nobody has a hematologist or an oncologist in their contacts list, right? No hematologist or oncologist will see you unless you have a diagnosis. Here's the chicken egg thing. You cannot get a diagnosis until you see a hematologist or an oncologist. So now it's Thursday, and I'm feeling this anxiety. And I just go to my neighborhood and I just open the door and I speak to the receptionist and I tell them my sobby story. And one lady took pity on me and she said, "I'm going to get you an appointment. I'm going to squeeze you in for tomorrow." So now it's Friday. So I go in, I take a blood test. A few minutes later, this woman comes out who I've never met. And she looks at me and stoically she tells me, "You have chronic myeloid leukemia. And I've just scheduled you for a bone marrow biopsy on Monday."
Wow. What are the emotions that were going through your mind? You have children, you're married, you have a job. And
My
I know
world,
people that are listening, this is not unfamiliar, unfortunately, to you. A lot of people have experienced this.
a lot of people. My world crashed at that moment. Everything, my whole mind was going. At first, I couldn't speak, but then I said, "You need to check your files again. You have the wrong patient." I didn't want that. I didn't want to hear those words. I didn't want that diagnosis. And she repeated it stoically, which pissed me off. And I walked out of there. And I remember it was raining. It was a Friday. It was November 14th, 2008. The stock market had crashed September 15th. So my whole industry was already in a panic. Now I was in the panic. I call my husband as I'm driving home. The rain is pelting the, the windshield. And I said, "You're not going to believe this. I was just told that I have cancer." Now, we lived in New Jersey and we lived near the shore. So it's a long way to go to New York. And we both worked in New York. And I just happened to be at home because I'm trying to get this diagnosis. But he's in New York. So he says, so I call him and I say that to him. And he goes, "What? I'm coming home." It's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. "I'm coming home. I'm coming home." And I cry all the way home. And it wasn't far because I was only 5 minutes away. And I basically just cried alone until I picked up my children. I remember they're 3 and 6. So I have one in daycare and one in school. And so he comes home a few hours later, and it was really hard not to discuss it with the children there. So now the children are there. We're trying to get them, we're trying to have a normal day, but it's not normal. He's home, right? Now we're both home, and the kids are like, "What is going on?" Like, kids are very astute. They don't understand what's going on, but they know what they feel in their bodies. And so there wasn't laughter, right? Those little signs. There's no laughter. There's no smiles. It was just like we were just in this perfunctory mode of, okay, let's fix dinner, let's make dinner, let's take them a bath, because all we wanted to do was have a conversation about it. And we didn't want to do that in front of them. After we put the kids to sleep, we talk about it, and we held each other and we cried all night. And we didn't tell anyone because it's right before Thanksgiving. Two, we don't even understand what's going on. Like, there was a small part of me that hoped that this wasn't true, that this was all a dream, because it feels so unreal. It's like your body just moves out of it's like your soul moves out of your body. And Monday morning came. It didn't even occur to me to get a second opinion or a third opinion, which is what I tell my clients now. Because again, when you get a diagnosis, you're operating with your traumas, big and small. You're operating with your limiting beliefs. So remember, I was in fight or flight mode my whole entire life. So I'm treating this as though, what do you need me to do? How do I fix this problem? Because I'm a problem solver. That's my role. I've always been a problem solver. And so I have this bone marrow biopsy with no drugs, because they didn't give us drugs, at least back then. It was 2008. And I meditated for 30 minutes while the whole thing happened. And the needle was this big. This is what I'm told, because I couldn't see it. And this needle goes in your hip bone.
And
And they,
you're not, nothing, no localized.
no,
Oh my gosh.
what they do is they take out bone marrow, because they go right into, and they determine what kind of cancer you have and where they produce a benchmark and where it's at. And my whole life changed. Everything changed. But then nothing changed. And I say that because I still had the same mindset. See, when you get a diagnosis, in order for you to embrace it, and maybe that's not the word, but to wrap yourself around it, you need to make that mindset shift. It's hard to do that when you're experiencing fear, and two, you're experiencing anger. I was pissed off. I was like, "God, how can you do this to me? I was already born into poverty. I already had to experience abandonment from my father. I've already had 5 miscarriages. Like, really? Like, haven't I had enough?" Because I was thinking that it was happening to me. I was in the scarcity mindset. Because remember, again, you're going through whatever you're going through with everything that you know, which is all past stuff.
Yeah, and not just it actually is the victim mindset too, because you're thinking, I am a victim of this because it's happening to me.
Again, yeah.
Again, well, I've had enough. Why are you doing this with me again and again? And from the introduction, you went through 13 years of chemotherapy. That is a long time. I know my mom experienced 13 years of three different kinds of cancer, but she didn't have chemotherapy for 13 years. That is a lot. What happened in those 13 years? Because I'm imagining that what happened within that time frame is what was part of your spiritual awakening as to how you changed your life.
Yeah.
What happened in those 13 years?
Well, when I got the diagnosis, I quit God. I literally went, I quit you. Those were my exact words. I said, I quit you. I never want to see you again. That was it. Now, I was never very religious. My mother's agnostic. So to me, she was my God because she went to college. She got us out of the South Bronx. So I looked up to her, and my mother's 85 years old. She's still a badass woman, vibrant, feisty. And so I was treating this cancer the way I treated everything and everyone. Well, what do I have to do? Tell me, and I'll do it. It didn't occur to me that I had to make the shift here in my heart, that I was on fight or flight mode, that I was only operating with my mind and my ego. So everyone's telling me, because what do people say to you when they've never experienced it, but they love you and they want to support you? They say, you're the only person I know who can get through this. Everyone told me that. I- That's what people told me my whole entire life. If anyone can get through it, you can get through it. So I kept thinking I was getting through it. So when my hair was short, in my mind, I made the decision to cut my hair. It wasn't because I was taking chemo. You see how my mind was operating? And so my family, because I was operating in this way, my family and my friends were like, oh, she's good. She's good. Look at that. She's good. Now, there were times I wasn't good. I looked like I had cancer. But here I wasn't living. I was dead. I was angry. I was not, I couldn't even show up for myself. So I don't even know how I was showing up for others. But here's another thing. When people are accustomed to getting things from you, because I'm a caregiver, right? I'm the oldest, and I was conditioned to take care of others and put myself last. I wasn't taking really good care of myself
Were
the
you
way I
still
should.
working while you were going through the chemotherapy?
Yes.
Mm.
You know, I get a divorce because, oh, let me not skip. In about 2006, no, yeah, right before I get the cancer diagnosis, I have this awakening. I start doing all these Mind Valley master classes. I start listening to Eckhart Tolle. I don't know why, but I started to do that. So when I got the cancer, at first it didn't occur to me that, oh, maybe I should dabble in that again. Because see, I couldn't apply it to my life because nobody wanted me to change. Because when you have an awakening, then the people who get things from you are not going to get those things because now that space and time and energy has to go towards yourself. So I knew they weren't ready for that. So all through my cancer, I kept getting resistance. So my people would come to my house. There were no more parties, right? But people were saying, "Oh, you don't," and I had a bar. People would say, there's no liquor in the bar. What? Oh my God, I gotta go get some liquor. They didn't make the connection that I'm taking chemo because they still wanted what they were getting from me. Maybe they weren't thinking about it consciously, but subconsciously, they wanted what they were accustomed to getting. And then I started to realize that I'm not happy here, and that happiness doesn't depend on anything external. People, places, things, experiences, who's president, wars, none of that. And when I realized I wasn't happy, when I realized that I wasn't getting what I needed, when I realized that I made a lot of mistakes, when I realized that I had to remove people that I love from my life, I got a divorce while taking chemo. I think it was year 10. And everyone thought I was And nobody support, well, let me not say no one supported me. Many did not support me, including my own family. They took his side because here's what happens when a woman asks for a divorce after 24-year marriage. They look at you and they don't ask, why is this happening? Something, there must be a very serious reason why this is happening. What they ask or what they say is, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to get a divorce after 24 years? What do you think? Life is a picnic? No one's happy in a 24-year marriage. I mean, I was even told, go have an affair. I was like, this is not about sex. This is about safety. I got a divorce because I did not feel safe. I did not feel that I was safe in this person's life anymore. Like, I just did not believe it. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, I talk constantly about courage, right? And what courage the women that I interview need in order to make a change in their life. This was huge amount of courage that you needed because you were sick and going through the battle of your life, had two children, made a decision that nobody, if not maybe some of your very close friends, supported. And so you still made that decision, and I'm going to assume you moved out. I don't, everything that you did went on your own. You continued with chemo for at least 3 more years. Were you continuing to work in that field through that time?
I could no longer work as a manager, but I was working as an executive assistant in the C-suite.
Okay. So you were working through
So
all of this stuff. Now
still,
you're on your own. I'm going to assume he was at least in some way financially helpful with the kids in some way. And so you're working through the finances about that. But having still that scarcity mindset about money and then the fears, thinking that life is happening to you, not for you, still
mhm,
didn't. However, you're now starting to learn about spirituality, about looking inside for happiness, and about looking at the universe as something that's giving to you, and also
mhm,
your spirituality from a sense of a higher, some type of God or higher being that's part of your life.
yeah, yeah.
So where did that, when did that shift to wanting to help others?
Well, first I had to help myself,
Yeah.
right? I had to make that mindset shift. So now I'm in New York. I sell my house a week before New York closed for COVID. 3 weeks later, I get laid off. Now I'm working as the project manager, executive assistant to the chief investment officer, and I get laid off, and I'm the only one. I'm selling my home. New York apartments not available to people who do not have jobs. So now I've got to show them my investment statement to prove that I can pay for this. And one guy took pity on me because I had over $500,000 and still no one would give me an apartment. So now my house is sold. I cannot move because it's the middle of COVID, but I also cannot move because New York won't give me an apartment. So finally, someone takes pity on me. I get an apartment. I move to Astoria, Queens. I'm in a fourth floor walk up. It was the same building. It resembled the building that I grew up in the South Bronx of New York City. Look at the karma. No elevator, no dishwasher, right? Um, None of the amenities that I had just left after 24 years. And I'm sitting in this apartment, Lisa, and I'm surrounded by boxes that hold 2,500 square feet of a house in a two-bedroom apartment, 780 square feet. I felt so alone. At that moment, I knew I had to reach out for someone and something higher than myself. And when I picture it, I feel like I'm in a Martin Scorsese movie because I literally look up at the ceiling, and I'm in a pre-war building, so the ceiling is like 10, 11 feet. And I just go, God, I need you. I need you to love me. I need you to hold me. I need you to tell me everything's going to be okay because everyone is mad at me. But I know I did the right thing. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. And you know what happened? Now, this is a kid from the South Bronx who did not grow up with religion and grew up with a mother who's agnostic. He hugged me. I felt the warmth. And as I touch myself, I feel it again. My whole body's tingling right now. But I felt his arm, I felt his body just create that warmth in my arms. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. I had nothing to base it on, but I knew what I felt. I was feeling with my heart, not with the mind and ego. I leaned in, and I swear, my God must be 6'3" because I'm 5'7". And I just leaned in and I just put my head on his shoulder and I cried and I cried and I cried. And then 20 minutes later, after I have no more tears, I said, okay, I'm good. And I started to unpack. And I felt like he heard me. I felt like he had my back. Like I felt safe. And that I felt like I didn't need to worry anymore. And then I just started to unpack. And I was unpacking my life at the same time.
We'll be right back.
Wow. If you feel stuck in doubt, fear, or low confidence, there's a way forward. I'm Lisa Andrea, emotional transformation specialist with Ladies Who Leap Coaching. I can guide you to clear the emotional patterns holding you back so you can trust yourself again, feel confident in relationships, and step into a life of clarity and purpose. Visit ladieswholeap.com and click on the Let's Connect button to start your leap journey today.
Now let's get back to the show.
You know, we, just for the listeners, Zoraida and I have become good friends over a period of time, and I have never heard this story. So I want to thank you for being so vulnerable in explaining the emotional side of really changing your life to embrace the spiritual side of yourself and looking at yourself to understand that you are, number one, stronger than you imagined, and number two, you're taking the step and realizing that you're going to take the step to really find who Zoraida is and how strong she is and how she can. Now, I'm going to guess that through this period of transforming yourself, you realized, wait, there's something else I'm supposed to do here. And how did you come to the decision that what I need to do is actually help others that are going through the same thing or have gone through this same thing?
Yeah. So first, let me just say that I thank you, Lisa. I thank you for creating this safe space for me because it's really unnerving sometimes to be this vulnerable in front of people, knowing that other people can see this, knowing that my family is going to see it and my friends are going to see it, and some people will judge it. So thank you for that. Um, I had to do a lot of work on myself, and that's what New York did for me. Those 4 years of being in New York, I was healing. So it was good that my children left. One went to college, the other one went to live with his dad because he didn't want to be with me. Because again, I changed his whole life and he wasn't happy about that. His friends he went from living in the suburbs to now living in New York, and he wasn't happy with that. And so it was my moment to pour into myself and to become this better version of myself. And so I started to heal. I joined Mind Valley. The first course I did was hypnotherapy. I do hypnotherapy on myself. I had to change it wasn't even just the mindset. Again, a lot of my stuff comes from past lives. So even though I've had therapists in the past, talk therapists, it wasn't enough for me. It's good for certain people, but it wasn't enough for me. I had to go in and rewire what my body was feeling when a certain situation came up, when a certain word was said. So I started to work on myself. And I joined Mind Valley. I joined the women's group. And I'm coaching caregivers and cancer survivors when I'm living in New York for free. Because my friends are calling me, hey, this one just got a cancer diagnosis. Can you help them? My daughter just got a cancer diagnosis. Can you help me? So here it is. I'm in COVID. And my sister calls and she says, can you please speak to this person? Her 27-year-old daughter just got diagnosed with stage 4 metastasis breast cancer. Metastatic.
Metastatic, yeah.
Metastatic. Thank you. I said, of course. Now, I had no idea that I already had the 7 things I encourage you to do after a diagnosis. But that's what happened. So I'm speaking to mom. I'm letting her say everything and anything she wants. She's pissed off. She doesn't like the way the doctor delivered the news. She didn't like the way her friend responded. She has fear. She doesn't know what to do. Her anxiety is high. Now her traumas and her limiting beliefs are rising to the surface. So I let her say all that. I say to her, these are the things that I encourage you to do. 1, take a breath, because you're going to find that you're not breathing a lot of the time. 2, get a second and a third opinion. I didn't do that. That was fear, right? 3, get a cancer coach. I had never heard of a cancer coach before. I don't know where those words came out, but I said, get a mental professional or a cancer coach. 4, remove those processed foods from your diet and start incorporating and putting more whole foods into your body, because food is medicine. The next one was move your body, right? When you want to change your state, you have to, it's easier if you just move your body. So go for a walk, go sit in nature, do some yoga, dance. I mean, all that would change, right? The next thing was get your people in line. Find out who's going to take you to doctor's appointments, who's going to call you and see how you're doing. You need to know who's going to be there for you. And the last one was believe in something higher than yourself.
So you're talking to someone else and you're really talking to yourself. You're coming up with these 7, I think it was 7 things, right?
7.
And these are
Yep.
the pillars that you use in your coaching, your cancer coaching, as a cancer coach, when you decided to do that.
Yeah.
And you were talking to yourself. And you
I
were
was
just
talking to
coming up with
myself.
this because you had done some introspective, you had experienced this in your own lifetime.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It's interesting how your higher source or the universe brings you the people that need your help to be able to show you that you can help others.
Yes. Yes.
How long did it take after that for you to actually start being a cancer coach? It all happened.
Like that. Because after I told her this, she expressed her gratitude because now she had a blueprint. She understood what to do next, whereas the doctor didn't give her anything concrete or comforting. So I said, so when she expressed her gratitude, my heart opened, which hadn't opened in years. And when you know what happens when your heart opens, my fingers tingled, my heart tingled. I hadn't experienced that in such a long time. And then the words came out of my mouth and I said, I'm going to be a cancer coach. Oh my God.
So now, did this shift you from going life happening to you, rather life happening for you? Did that make you understand that the experience that you're having now is something that it was to happen for you so that you could actually help others?
Yes, but it really happened later on because I still wasn't there yet, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm good at this. That's what I'm going to do. Because when I got laid off, I figured I'm going to open up a project management company because that's what I do and I'm good at it. So I didn't think that I was going to be a coach, but then because I had done all this work, again, on the mental, physical, and the spiritual, I sat in it for a couple of days. It's like, oh God, did you hear that? Now I'm by myself. It's a good thing I lived alone. Oh my God. So my ego said, hell no, we're not going to be a coach. We're not going to be poor. That's for poor people. We want to go back to finance. We're going to want to go back to making the money. You said you were going to be a project manager with your own company. No, 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 no. And my mindset, what do you know about being a coach? You're not a coach. You don't have a certification. You don't have a license. And then I don't know where it came from, but my heart said, I'm the heart. I'm the leader now. Mind and ego, you're going to follow and support because we've been doing it your way for 55 years. And it worked. It helped us then, but it's not really, it's not going to help us now. We want to live a different life. We want to see things differently. And so it took 2 years to get my mind and ego on board. However, in less than a week, I had already done my research and I picked 2 schools and I chose one in California, actually. And wouldn't you know it? Spirit gave it to me in a plate, in a silver platter. And I got a free scholarship to get 2 certifications. So I got a certification for nutrition because I believe food is medicine. And I got a certification for cancer coaching. Free.
Hmm.
And I spent 2 years healing and going through this beautiful, beautiful program that Cynthia Garcia created.
Wow. So you have a philosophy, you have a message, thriving after cancer.
Mhm.
What is that philosophy, and how is it a way to find power in that mindset shift about going through such a tough journey? You've explained how you experienced it. How do you now share that message through the Thriving with Cancer?
Oh, I feel so fortunate because not only do I have my own company now, but I speak on podcasts and like yours. And as of a few weeks ago, I did my first solo talk. So now I was invited to go to Garrison, New York to speak on hope at a cancer conference. So how beautiful is that? I'm also on the cancer panel. I speak on virtual stages. So I speak on hope and resilience and um, cancer and nutrition and boundaries.
Now,
And
I'm going to interrupt just for a second because the three pillars of nutrition program that you put together, and it's mentally, physically, and spiritually. Can you give a high level idea of what it is that you do to help people? And
sure.
from what I've read and what we've talked about, you not only help people actually going through cancer, it's after, like post cancer, and the
Yeah.
caregivers that help them.
Yes. So my program is actually geared now because we've evolved. As I evolve, my company evolves. I now work with survivors, caregivers, and people who are focused on wellness.
Mm.
Because of the 3 pillars of nutrition, the mental part, right, is that mind. How do you get your mind to quiet down? How do you manage that fear and that anxiety, right? And we do that through modalities like sound healing, breath work, meditation, going out into nature. I like to tailor my program to the client. So not all of those modalities will work for one person, but we find the ones that do. Journaling is another one. Um, and so the mental part is where you make that mindset shift that, oh, I have cancer. Now what? And the question I always ask my client is, how do you want to live? What are you hungry for? What do you need that you don't have, and how do you get that? And I'll tell you, when I ask myself that question, because everything, I'm the first case study, right? And I built a whole business around me and this case study. It took me 2 years to answer that question because it's not an easy question to ask. And I was taking chemo, and here was my answer. I want to live in peace, love, and joy all day, every day. But then what the hell does that look like? Right? So peace is here. Peace means I don't let my mind and ego run over my heart. Peace means that I don't give my power away. I don't play small. I ask for what I need. I speak my truth. I lead with kindness. I'm here to serve. Love, travel, relationships, friends, family, experiences, live entertainment, right? And joy, well, joy is when my heart is tingling. Like when I'm having conversations with people like you and I'm stimulated in such a positive way. So going back to the 3 pillars of nutrition, physical is food and movement. So we all know food is medicine. So you put the good foods in your body and you start to release the processed foods. Now, you do that in incremental stages. You just cannot do this. I mean, you can, but I recommend people don't because your success is higher when you make small increment changes. I eat clean. We live in America, so I eat like 90% clean because every once in a while I need a dirty martini, and I'm probably going to have one this weekend. And every once in a while I need to have birthday cake, right? But for the most part, I eat clean. I do not expect my clients to eat clean, but I expect them that if they're having 7 Pepsis a day, let's bring that down to 6, right? Then we could bring it down to 5. You don't have to do what I did. We're all different. I like to meet people where they're at. Movement. Now, movement is really difficult when you have a chronic diagnosis. But when the body allows, move, take a walk around the neighborhood, sit in nature, because we're like cars. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's not going to work well when you want it to work. And so I've always exercised. I'm a big yoga fan. I played baseball through high school and volleyball, so I've always been active. I had to get back into being physical. And again, you change your state when you move.
Yeah, and for the listeners, some may not realize that I had my bout with breast cancer several years ago, and right after the mastectomy, my brother came in to take care of me, and the next, after I'd been in the hospital for several days, when I got home, the next day I said, "Let's go for a walk." Even if it's just down the block and back, let me hold on to you. So every day I took a walk because you're not only is it mentally better for you, but you're stimulating your body movement, which actually gets you to heal quicker, right? It gets your blood flowing, and that means you can heal quicker and you can heal in a more healthy way.
Yeah,
So, and I've heard a lot of people that, and I've had friends that I've gone to help with, and taking them on a walk was really, really helpful, even if it's just
very.
that step. I thought of that when you
Even.
talked about physical. And then
Yeah.
the other part, your third pillar is spirituality, right?
Spirituality, for me, spirituality is believing in something higher than yourself. Doesn't matter what you call it. So I call it source for me, because not only do I have Mother God and a Mother Goddess, and I have Father God, but I have archangels who watch over me and send me messages. I have ancestors, and then I have the children that I didn't bring to this life, and they all send me messages. So I call it source, right? But everyone has a different name for it, and that's fine. I just encourage people to believe in something higher than yourself. If you don't want to, that's fine, right?
It's
But
it's the it's the additive of faith.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then in that spiritual nutrition, because I call all these pillars nutrition, because again, for me, nutrition is not just what's on your plate. So in the spirituality pillar is devotion to self. And what does devotion to self look like? Right? That's a big one. I wrote about it. I wrote about devotion to self in one of the books because it's changed everything for me. So when if I get a compliment and I don't take it in, I'm not experiencing devotion to self, because now my mind and ego, what's really happening in my perspective is the mind and ego is saying, you don't need that compliment. But my heart does.
And you deserve it. We had
And I
talked before.
deserve
Yes, you
it. We
deserve to
talked
be.
about deserve. The word
Yep.
deserve is such a wonderful word. And so I no longer let my mind and ego ignore the compliments for two reasons. Not only does my heart need it, but at the same time, so my heart wants to receive, right? But at the same time, if I don't take it to heart, I am not giving you the opportunity of feeling your joy of gifting me something. It's a two-way, it's a two-way, it's a two-way conversation, it's a two-way feeling. You're doing both you and the person of the service.
Oh boy, that's a big message that I've always said is, and it took a long time for me to receive anything, help, gift, compliments, because how do you feel when you think about it? How do you feel giving someone a compliment, giving them a gift, helping them? You feel really good. It's a gift for you to be able to help someone else. So understanding, and for those listening that have trouble with this, understand that when you allow someone to give you a compliment, to help you in any way, you're giving them that gift also, just like you understand that. So it's fantastic that you put it that way.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps giving.
Exactly. This has been a really heartfelt conversation, Zoraida, and I'm so happy that I've, number one, gotten to know you. I also, we had talked about as a coach, we have coaches that help us. Both Zoraida and I have kind of done a little reciprocal thing where we've helped each other as a coach, and it's been very rewarding work, and I'm excited about going through your program myself so I can experience it firsthand. But from this conversation, I can just hear and understand how passionate you are about helping people and how this is truly your calling.
It
And
is.
that now we all understand from this whole conversation that you now understand that this was your calling and that life happened for you, that the cancer happened for you so
It
that
was
you
a
could
lesson.
understand. It was a lesson, it was an experience that you went through in order to help others that are going through the same experience. And
Yeah.
boy, there's way too many people that are experiencing this, including children. And
Yeah.
to have someone on their side to help them it's just priceless. It's just priceless.
Thank you. Let me just say that one of the things I help people with is patient advocacy.
Mm.
I teach people to partner with their doctors and their medical team. So my doctors know that when I come in, they know that I'm going to look at my phone and I've got a whole bunch of questions, and they know that I've done my research and that that I come in with ideas and suggestions I do not just follow. I don't do that anymore. And I teach people how to do that.
That's a great tip. I mean, I do have to say, during my whole diagnosis, every time I met with a doctor, I not only would bring someone with me, but I also recorded it. And mind you, I didn't have to go back on
Right?
those recordings, but I would ask them, is it okay if I record it? And they thought it was fantastic. Of
Yes.
course, definitely.
Of course, it's your diagnosis.
So you're not sitting there writing something down, or
Yeah.
depending on the person who's with you, to remember or write it down. You're actually recording it. And if you need to go back and listen to it for
Yeah.
whatever reason, you've got that. So I would say
Yeah.
that to the folks on the
Yeah.
line. So we've gotten to the place where I would like to ask for your favorite quote, mantra, or positive affirmation for our audience and why you
I've
chose
got a
it.
favorite. And it keeps changing because a few years ago, um, when I was removing those people that weren't supporting me and caring for me the way I wanted it, I had to remove people from my life, and even people that I was related to, hence the divorce. And so at that time, my mantra was I would listen to Nipsey Hussle, and he said, if you look at your circle and you're not inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage.
Ooh, that's
And,
powerful.
and I
That's,
was in a cage.
and it's not, just so people understand, it's not selfish to set the boundaries either with people or actually make the decision to no longer have them in your life. It's
Mhm.
not selfish. It is, again, what did you say?
Devotion
Paying,
to self.
yeah, devotion to self. That's
It
exactly.
is. It's a boundary because if you think about it, what you're doing is you're creating space for those people to support you to come in, right? You're basically saying, okay, you cannot support me. I'm okay with that, but I am going to have that space so now someone else can come in. So the 30 minutes I'm spending with the person that doesn't support me is now available because of the law of attraction is going to bring the people that I need. But here's my new mantra, and I love it. So there's a performer. She's no longer here, unfortunately. Her name is Nightbird, and she performed on America's Got Talent. And when I heard this, and I actually met her brother, by the way, who's the head of her foundation at a cancer conference a few years ago, she said this. And I want everyone to really listen in because this is just for everyone. And basically, it's you can't wait until life isn't hard anymore before you decide to be happy.
I know who she is, and I remember that quote, and I followed her till the end. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate you bringing that up because it is
Oh,
so
I got
important.
goosebumps.
I know she was an amazing human being. And again, she treated her diagnosis and her fate as something to share to help others. And her song that she did on the show was adopted, like I think the next several seasons later, by this beautiful group of people that transformed it into a group song. It was amazing. She touched a lot of people's lives,
She did.
which is what you're doing now. You're
Thank you.
touching other people's lives, and you're really helping a lot of people, and I commend you for that. And I'm so happy that you're in a
It's my
place where
pleasure.
you love and devote yourself as number one in everything that you do. We did not, we're gonna, I think we're gonna, I'm gonna have a little extra segment because I wanted to devote it to the fact that you have a ritual that you do every day that I think
Ah,
people need to hear about. So we'll have a little extra segment that we'll get into that. But I
mhm.
want to thank you for being on my podcast. It's been an
Oh,
absolute
thank
pleasure,
you.
and I'm very happy that we have become friends. And it's just, you've really enlightened my life and really brought some light into my life, and I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and thank you for being a leader with a heart.
Mm, I share stories.
You share stories and thank you for allowing me to share mine. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Remember to like, comment, follow so that I can keep doing this because I want to keep sharing stories of these amazing women. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Please subscribe to the Ladies Who Leap podcast to be notified of new episodes. And I would love to hear from you. Let me know what works, what doesn't, and if you have a story to tell, please reach out. Come join the Leap community at the Ladies Who Leap Club Facebook group. Remember, leaping out of your comfort zone is where the growth happens.